Hey everyone, welcome to the Game Week 13 review video. Sorry we're a little later in the week again this week. But we came off of a pretty good week. The only real negative is, gosh, there's a lot of points on the bench this week, which is unfortunate. It was a good score. It could have been an amazing score had I made some different decisions with having Sabelli play, and if DiMarco or Colpani would have scored better. One issue was, and I apologize, 'cause I don't like to not be transparent, and I was not trying to. When I showed the final team selection for last game, it had Chiesa on and Calabria on the bench. That was I literally just forgot to hit the save button, which normally pops up underneath. So it ended up starting me in my 5-3-2 with Calabria on and Chiesa on the bench. Nothing else is different than that. It literally actually gives me one more point than I would have had. But that wasn't a last minute switch without telling the group. It was literally, I forgot to hit the save button. So I apologize for that, but I guess it kind of works out very slightly in my favor. Um, Looking at how we did though, the right keeper decision was made with Torati scoring his kind of average 6. Berisha only got 1. The defense was decent. Calabria scored 8. Di Lorenzo did get an assist in the game and got 10. Spinazzola got 5. DeMarco and Sabelli were disappointing. Inter and Juve tied 1-1 in an exciting first half, but a rather crappy second half. Genoa, Frosinone beat Genoa, so that's why Sabelli didn't score very well. But the rest was looking good as far as defense positions, if you include the keeper as well. I absolutely hit the nail on the head for Berardi this week, scoring 15 points, doubling up to 30, scored 1 penalty and another goal late in the match. Sassuolo ends up winning the match 4-3 in a very exciting game. This is also why Berisha did not score well because he had 4 goals against. Nico Gonzalez, kind of an average scorer there at 5. He did not contribute to any attacking returns, as you see. And neither did Colpani. Finally, doesn't have like a breakout game, which is fine. You can't expect it week in, week out. I somewhat hope he doesn't have a great week this upcoming week as he's facing Juve. But I would not start selling Colpani yet. Still seems to be a great option. We have Lautaro Martinez, who did score the goal against Juve. It was a very nice goal as well. Ball played across and he struck into the bottom corner. And Xerxes, who just got brought in, did score against Torino. This man still continues to put through results. I'm happy I brought him in. But my top scorer this week was on the bench. Juric finally comes through after all this time. This was actually a week that not only Juric scored, but if you remember, I had him in my team before. Tovan also scored this week, which was funny coming out of the midfield for Udinese. So just some players that I've had from that kind of like the start that really haven't done anything. And then this week they decided to do well. But on my bench, I have in total 25 points. Berisha and Ederson, nothing too much to get excited about. But Chiesa assisted Vlahovic's goal, and Juric got a goal and an assist, who the only player that would have outscored on my team this week is Berardi. So a little disappointing to have Juric on the bench now from what I finished having my team set before I forgot to hit the save button. Juric was actually in my last bench position. So it's not like I should have had Juric's points and with what I wanted, but it would have been nice to start him this week. Verona, I think, was playing Lecce. Yeah, and so that ended up in a 2-2 draw. Juric contributed to both goals. So just a lot of points on the bench. If I just didn't bring in Sabelli and I had one of them to play, that would have been much better. And obviously, I would have played DeMarco regardless, but 13 instead of 3 would have been nice. But that's how my team ended out the week. 88 points, 18 points above the average. We're continuing to move up in the overall standings, getting close to the top 1,000 in my nation of Canada. I'm 33rd. I'm pretty happy about that, to be truly honest. But in the Forge and Fire League, I am 42nd. I am doing worse in our private YouTube league than in my nation, which is hilarious. Still on the 3rd page, almost onto the 2nd one. Looking at the top, Adam 21, who also had Berardi. Sula, another great match for Sula. the fact that you can captain a player this cheap playing for Frosinone and it work out is fantastic. Nice call there. He actually did have 3 players that would have scored better than Sula, to be truly honest, which is great in itself. But great defense with Mancini and Bokema. Started Torati and net, who outscored Somer. Bremer did well. Scalvini, not so much. Colpani didn't do as well. The attacking line did fantastic. Pinamonti's been great. Sula and Berardi did awesome. Left some points on the bench with Tamori, though, and Gonzalez, with the only player that you'd rather him in for is Colpani or Scalvini. A great week for Adam 21 with 101 points. Awesome job. Oh, no, that's the round, not the league. Sorry. We have Il Biscone, who's still up in the top 3. Captain Lautaro Martinez, which is a decent captain choice. Also as Sula, Kvaratskhelia has been doing pretty well, scored 11 points. Also with Bukema. Di Gregorio outscored Tarati, so one better there on the keeping. Buongiorno and Bremer did decent for defense and also had Lukaku. An 89 point, beat me by 1. Just used his wild card to make this team, though, so that's significant. And these are we'll either have to spend points or bank transfers in order to have significant changes in the future. But overall, a good game week. Has Scamacca and Scalvini on the bench who are good options. So I'd say that's a pretty successful wild card. I would have said probably bring in Xerxes if you could, just because that's a cheap striker in for someone like Scamacca, where you could put more money elsewhere, but that's a decent wild card. And last squad as well. Captain Lukaku, still not a bad captaincy choice this week. Has Berardi and Lautaro Martinez as well with Di Lorenzo. Unfortunately, put Somer instead of Tirati, just a 1-point difference. Would have been nice to play Vlahovic over a couple players, any of these 5 and Ferguson. So it could have been better. 82-point week, the lowest of them, and that's why I guess they're in 3rd. But you see a lot of similarities between these teams. Lukaku, Martinez are in all of them. Berardi, I think, was in all of them. Colpani. Everyone seems to have Tarati, who I called from the start of the season to have. But he has the pairing that I had to start the season. I've gotten rid of Somer since. Anyway, that's where things are looking right now. I will have my team selection video early tomorrow morning as if you're living in Canada, a little later in the day if you're living in Europe or further to the east. But it should be up with a decent amount of time before the game week closes. Hope you all had a relatively successful week like I had, and I will talk to you again soon. Take care.